This American micro brand has just created the ultimate Dirty Dozen homage. They've packed it with a Swiss mechanical movement, upgraded specifications to fit modern life, and even recreated the conditions to properly age the dial. To any of you that have even considered picking up a field watch for your collection, you'll likely already be familiar with the story and therefore the design of the original World War II field watch, but specifically the models produced by 12 watch brands known as the Dirty Dozen. These brands included giants like Omega, JLC, Longines, and IWC. However, these watches, they weren't produced in their millions. Only thousands of each model exist, meaning that true military watch enthusiasts are left in a situation where obtaining an original in good condition is extremely difficult. And that's where PRAESIDUS steps in. A watch brand that's been dedicated to delivering high quality, historically accurate, military-inspired watches since their inception. Today's watch, the DD45, is this brand's take on the iconic Dirty Dozen field watch. I do get to keep this watch after the review, but PRAESIDUS has had no influence in the contents of this video. The Dirty Dozen homage is nothing new. PRAESIDUS, though, has taken this homage one step further. This is the first time I've ever seen a watch brand offer a watch in 3 completely different styles, all representing a different stage in the life of an original Dirty Dozen field watch. The first, Factory Fresh, a watch that represents what a Dirty Dozen field watch would look like fresh off the shelf, ready for action. The next stage, Patina, a watch emulating the look of seeing some action and some UV radiation from the sun, with the numerals and markers all fading to an orangey brown. And the final stage, Tropical. This incredibly rare patina is where the whole dial has faded due to seeing so much radiation from the sun, where the colour has faded to a beautiful chocolate brown. However, these finishes, they're not fake like you see with most other watches. Where most watch brands add colour to the lume and they paint watch styles to give them an aged look, PRAESIDUS actually went to the effort to age these elements instead. The dials are first dipped in a strong chemical that begins the aging process. Then all of the elements of the dial are cooked under intense UV lights. The dial surface, the luminescence, the hands, these are basically baked on a sunbed until they achieve the desired effect. So although these watches are technically new watches, they actually have real patina. Therefore, just like the originals, every dial ages slightly differently. At a glance, all dials will absolutely look the same, but when looking closer, you'll notice small differences that have occurred during the aging process, meaning that no two dials will ever look the same. Some lume plots will be darker in certain areas. The colour of the dial may be slightly different. The surfaces of the hands, for example, may feature slight imperfections, and this is what's really making this the ultimate Dirty Dozen homage. This does, however, have a bit of a negative impact on the lume experience. Because it's been blasted with a ton of UV already, its potency has certainly faded. It still glows and it ain't bad, it's just not outstanding. But this is of course a trade-off for that beautiful dial. You might be surprised to learn that only 7 of the 12 manufacturers from the Dirty Dozen actually use stainless steel for the case material. 5 manufacturers, including JLC of all, actually used a chrome-plated metal. Now of course it would be a crime these days to put out a watch using that case material. So PRAESIDUS is siding with the 7 here and delivering a stainless steel case. There is nothing on this case that doesn't need to be. There is no fancy finishing or intricate details, which is of course in line with what you'd get with an original. These watches weren't trying to impress the consumer or attract attention. They were built for purpose and nothing else. So having a mostly brushed finish with a couple of polished surfaces is exactly what I want to see. I will praise the watch for having a beautiful side profile. The mid case has a lovely curve and the bezel integrates perfectly. One area of this watch though that has seen a massive upgrade over the originals is the crystal. Original Dirty Dozens featured a piece of plexiglass. These were perfect for the time as they were near impossible to shatter and easy to produce. Sapphire didn't really become popular in watches until the late 20th century. Maybe an acrylic crystal would have worked fine here on the DD45, however I'm sure that most would rather have the sapphire that it's shipped with. And I must say, this is an excellent piece of sapphire. It features a domed top hat construction, and there's clearly plenty of anti-reflective treatment on this crystal because it's beautifully clear. I think that the quality of a sapphire is something that often gets overlooked in a review. So I want to give PRAESIDUS their flowers here for using an excellent piece of glass, and not just picking a cheap piece of sapphire to tick the box like a lot of brands do. Original Dirty Dozen watches didn't really come with a water resistance rating. They were simply made to be waterproof. They achieved this by only using a screw down case back, as the crown was needed to wind the movement. PRAESIDUS though decided to screw both the case back and the crown down, meaning that we see a modern 100 meter water resistance rating. One area though that PRAESIDUS clearly felt the need to honour the originals is with the choice of movement. First of all, a movement that delivers a small seconds at the 6 o'clock, but it also has to be a Swiss mechanical movement too. As all 12 manufacturers produced their watches in Switzerland, a Swiss heart pays respect to the true origin of the creation of these watches. Now, this is my first experience with this particular Swiss movement. It's the Landeron L24 automatic. I am a little bit confused though as to why PRAESIDUS didn't go for a Solita movement here, with it being a more reputable movement maker. But I suppose using a seldom seen movement gives this watch a point of difference, but I will say that the winding action doesn't feel the most premium. This movement is based on the ETA 2824, meaning that we get 28,800 beats per hour and a 40-hour power reserve. One area though that I would have loved PRAESIDUS to stay true to original and they haven't is with the strap. Dirty Dozens featured fixed lugs that could only be worn on pass-through straps. PRAESIDUS instead opted for a modern, regular 20mm lug opening for that ultimate versatility. The sand-distressed leather that mine has come with is an excellent choice. I think that the creamy tones and the distressed look of the strap perfectly match the aesthetic of the dial. My one complaint here though is that this strap, it's huge. I'm on the smallest hole here and it's not even tight. So for anyone with a wrist size below mine, this strap won't fit you. But that obviously comes with the upside of fitting a larger gentleman. You might be surprised to learn that the majority of the Dirty Dozen produced incredibly petite field watches, with most of them coming in with a 35mm case diameter. As this size isn't very popular these days, it's no surprise that PRAESIDUS opted for a larger 38mm case, which is the same case size that Longines produced for their Dirty Dozen watch. The lug-to-lug on this DD45 comes in at 45mm, with the thickness being 12.2. All in all, I think these are great proportions that stay true to original whilst modernising some areas. Okay, it's that time, let's talk about some negatives. I think that the movement choice in general is a bit strange on this watch. The Landeron is obviously a movement that most of us are unfamiliar with, but then it also features a ghost date position that I am never a big fan of. The loom experience on field watches is usually exceptional, but here it isn't, especially on the handset. This is unavoidable with the aging of the dial, but it's worth mentioning. So how much is the ultimate Dirty Dozen homage going to cost you? Well, it's a pricey one. So it's coming in at $875 on the distressed leather strap. PRAESIDUS has positioned this watch as their hero product, their top dog. And with the amount of effort that they've put in to create these dials, I can see why. I can imagine the failure rate creating these dials is high, and I'm sure they took a lot of effort to get right in the first place. So I do think that this is one of the best Dirty Dozen homage watches that you can find. The Swiss mechanical movement, the patinated dial, the great finishing, the beautiful crystal. This watch is demanding quite a high price tag, but it's delivering an excellent experience. For a true military watch enthusiast, someone that's obsessed with the Dirty Dozen era of watches, this might just scratch that itch of a modern Dirty Dozen piece, produced by an American micro brand that only creates military-inspired pieces. Check out the PRAESIDUS website in the description to find out some more information about this watch. And I'll see you in the next one, guys. Bye for now.